presented by Jeff Gant, Director of Admissions at Montclair State University. So I'm going to pass it over to him and enjoy the program.
Thanks, Caitlin. So we're fortunate today to be kind of a smaller, intimate group, which is really great because I'm going to run through a presentation, but I want this to be as interactive as possible and to allow you folks the chance to ask any questions that you have, not just about admissions to Montclair State University, but in any way that I can help. So if it's just general college admissions questions, if it's navigating college admissions during the pandemic and you have specific questions about that, let us know in the chat. Caitlin's going to be monitoring that, and she will feel free to stop me, and we will, kind of interject and have those conversations as we go through. So I'm going to share my screen now. I have a presentation that I want to just run through for you folks to talk about Montclair State University, what's going on at the institution, what has changed since maybe you were a Red Hawk on campus, and also things that we're doing a little bit differently now in the admissions process now that we are kind of living in the reality of 2020. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I do, again, want to thank you for taking the time today to join us to learn about Montclair State from the perspective of a prospective student. So without further ado, let me reintroduce you to Montclair State University by the numbers. Depending on when you were a student at Montclair State, you might remember it as a much different place, a much smaller place. Montclair State now has over 21,000 students, which is a far cry from where we were in 1908 when we were founded. But in spite of the fact that we have the second largest student body in the state of New Jersey, we make a really concerted effort to keep class sizes small and the student to faculty ratio pretty intimate so that students get that all the benefits of a big campus, a large research institution with that same small campus feel that you probably remember. We have over 300 different majors, minors, and concentrations on campus, and the average student coming in is well prepared for the rigors of Montclair State education because they are joining us with the GPA coming out of high school on average of about 3.27. And this is a number that's been steadily rising over the last 10 years, I would say. We have, in a normal year, in a non-pandemic year, we have 5,300 students living on campus. And we are, as you know, are 12 miles from New York City, and we now have the 2 New Jersey Transit train stations on campus. So this is one of my favorite slides because it is our opportunity to kind of toot our own horn and talk about all of the great accolades that Montclair State has racked up over the years. We're a best bang for your buck institution. We've been ranked nationally for drama and dance and being a top 25 LGBTQ friendly college, all things that are really important to us, and big accolades like being ranked in US News and World Report. My favorite, though, is something that doesn't appear on this slide, and I hope that as alumni, this is something that resonates with you. A couple of years ago, we did a brand study where we asked folks like alumni, faculty, staff, current students, prospective students, parents of students, what they thought about Montclair State University and what their impressions were of the institution. And my favorite thing about this is that out of all the things that folks could say across all of those groups, there was one word that came up consistently in the top 1 or 2 things, descriptors that folks used to talk about Montclair State University. And the word was friendly. And I think that that's such an exciting thing to be able to say about any college campus, but about a college campus in the middle of northern New Jersey, that we are a friendly institution. And I know that that's true because you see it when you walk across campus. It's so genuine and so baked into the fabric of Montclair State University, this kind of community that people find each other at Montclair State University. So that's an accolade that doesn't appear on this slide. It's not published everywhere, but it's something that we all know to be true and something that our students see in themselves when they come to visit campus. So we've become very good at finding our kind of people at Montclair State University. If you haven't had the opportunity to come to campus physically in recent times, you would be surprised to see all the changes that have gone on. Over the last 15, 20 years, the campus has been virtually transformed. It's a really gorgeous place with wonderful buildings. The traditional Spanish mission style architecture has made a real revival on campus, and we've got just great spaces for students that are really cutting edge and really support the excellent work being done in all of our academic programs and by our faculty and our students, and the research that they do and the student services that we provide. And just to note a couple of recent additions on this slide. We have the School of Nursing, which is relatively new to Montclair State University. We launched the School of Nursing about 4 years ago, and that is the old Partridge Hall, which was the School of Business for many years, has been completely renovated and transformed into this really excellent space for nursing with cutting edge technology and simulation labs. Really exciting stuff going on there. We also have the Center for Computing and Information Science, which is the former Finley Hall, I believe it was. Finley or Mallory, I can't remember. But this space has been outfitted by Sony Electronics through a partnership that we have with them with just top of the line equipment for the classroom for students to be doing this really excellent and exciting work that they're doing. And then my personal favorite, which just opened this fall, is College Hall. And of course, you know, College Hall is the original building on campus in 1908 when Montclair State was founded as the state normal school at Montclair. This was we were the kind of the one-room schoolhouse was College Hall. It was the only building on campus. It's been completely renovated, much of it brought back to its kind of historic glory. But what's most important and exciting about this is that College Hall is now a hub for student services. This is where things like the Dean of Students office, the Registrar's office, financial aid, student accounts, our one-stop shop for students where they can go and get all of their questions answered. It now happens in College Hall in this really gorgeous space, and we're very proud of it. To complement all of those facilities and to house all of those facilities, as I said earlier, we have over 300 different majors, minors, and concentrations to choose from. You can see some of the popular majors there. What is so exciting about Montclair State University is that it, as I said earlier, it's that large research institution that has that small campus feel. And part of what goes along with that is the kind of never-ending combinations that students can find to satisfy their academic interests, their future career pursuits, and to allow them to pair their interests with the great offering of academic programs that we have at the institution. We always say that pretty much, with very, very few exceptions, if you can dream it, you can find a program that's going to suit your needs at Montclair State. We do, though, have every year about a third of our students who come to us who aren't yet sure what they want to major in. So they're undecided, and we think that that's just fine. We, in fact, a couple of years back, launched what's called University College, which is the newest of the colleges at Montclair State University. And that's specifically for our students who are still finding their way. So those students are guided very deliberately through major exploration and through their general education course selection to help them figure out and to make those connections between what their end goal is and how to get there. And we understand and appreciate that the major you select and the career that you end up in might be totally unrelated in your mind anyway, or on paper. But the skills that you can learn through different disciplines can really help prepare you for a lifetime of learning and to be adaptable in your career and not just for a job. And I can attest to this. So I'm an 06 graduate of Montclair State University and an 012 graduate of the master's program. And both of my degrees are in French. So yeah, you don't, when you're looking up the job description for the director of admissions, nowhere does it say must have a master's degree in French. Nevertheless, my time at Montclair State prepared me in so many different ways. And I might not have developed all of those soft skills that go along with it if we didn't have such a deliberate and caring and supportive environment. So the Discovery program through University College really helps students on their way to figure out how best to leverage all the resources at Montclair State. With all of these great programs comes a lot of opportunity and it really speaks to the value of Montclair State University. And one way in which that's really evident is through the combined degree programs that we offer. So I'm not even sure if this 39 number that you see at the top right of the screen is still accurate, because we are so rapidly adding combined bachelor's and master's programs. We have more than any other institution in New Jersey, and yes, I do mean even more than Rutgers. So students have the opportunity to choose from a huge array of combinations of programs that are bachelor's and master's programs that are typically completed on a 5-year schedule. And we also have a number of programs that you see there underneath that are 4+1 MBA programs. And you can combine them with any of those undergraduate majors that are listed below. So it's a great way for students who have maybe a more humanities-based focus, that are, you have an interest in philosophy or psychology or gender, sexuality, and women's studies, for example, but you still see yourself going off into the world. And as I said before, there are a lot of those connections to be uncovered. And the 4+1 MBA programs are a great way to kind of blend both that practical education that you'll get in the MBA with the theoretical that you can do in those undergraduate majors. So lots of opportunity at Montclair State for our students. All right. Hopefully you look back on your time at Montclair State and you remember a lot of fun times on campus, ways to get involved, and things that you did in 2020. Those things look a little bit different. There's a lot of masks, there's a lot of social distancing. We take very seriously the safety of our students on campus, but we are committed to making sure that within the parameters that the pandemic has kind of thrust upon all of us, that we're able to provide a really rich campus experience for students. So we have 120 different clubs and organizations. There are 34 different fraternities and sororities on campus. During non-pandemic times, intramural sports and of course our Division III athletics are very active, as would be study abroad if students could travel right now. And students live on campus. We still have a healthy cohort of students living on campus this year and observing, kind of social distancing and health and safety precautions in our 10 different residence halls. So if you have a student that they're interested in Montclair State and they're interested in living on campus, one thing that's great is that housing is guaranteed at Montclair State, not just for your freshman year, but for all 4 years, as long as students meet the deadlines to submit their deposits and complete all the necessary paperwork. You never have to worry, you never go back into a lottery system or anything like that. So if you know of a student who is interested in Montclair State University, applying is very easy. We now offer 2 different ways to apply, through our own application at montclair.edu/admission or through the Common App. So that's very simple process. One thing that the pandemic has shown for us in undergraduate admissions is that it's incredibly important for us to be as flexible as possible for our students as they try to navigate the realities of virtual school or partially in person, just the way the apple cart's been upturned for everybody. We're very sensitive to that, and we want the admissions process not to be a punitive one, not to be overly complicated for students, because now is kind of not the time for bureaucracy, and we recognize that. We also know that school counselors, who are such vital partners for us and for students in this process, are dealing with a host of other issues that aren't necessarily related to college prep or college advising at this very moment. And we do believe that there will be a shift as we go through the next couple of weeks and months, and that students will be able to kind of get that guidance that they would typically get from their school counselors. However, in the meantime, in order to be as flexible as possible, we've allowed on our applications through the Common App and through our own application for students to upload their own unofficial transcript for the purposes of the decision, so that they're not held back by the backlog that some schools are facing with just the guidance offices not being able to get them out as quickly as they typically would. So that's one easy thing that they can do. We've also made the essay optional, and we've made the essay prompt very fluid, so students can even just submit a graded essay assignment that they have if they want to show off their work. What we recommend is that, though you do not have to send an essay, if you feel that you are a candidate whose application needs a little bit more explanation, maybe you had some blips with your grades, or you had a family situation that you'd like us to take into consideration, well, that's a great opportunity for you to send in that optional essay. There are some programs that are where the essay is required, things like programs in the School of Communication and Media, for example, or the nursing program, and those we still do need in order for the students to complete their application. But one thing that's not new for the pandemic, and we've been doing this for a lot longer than some of these other schools who recently made the change because they had to, because of the upset to standardized testing, is that Montclair State is SAT, ACT optional. You do not have to submit test scores to be considered for admission or for scholarships. And this is something that we've been doing since 2014. We were actually the first public institution in the state of New Jersey to go test optional. And the reason that we're test optional is because we know that the best predictor of student success is their work during the 4 years in the high school classroom, not the work done on the 4 hours they spend taking a standardized test. And we know that empirically. We've studied it. We've over a 10-year or more period to make that determination. We know that the highest correlator to success at Montclair State University is the student's GPA and the rigor of the courses that they took in high school. So we try to be very flexible always, but particularly this year. I see there's a question here. Will you be considered for further scholarship money by submitting SAT or ACT scores? Is your opportunity the same? That's a great question. For merit-based scholarships that are awarded at the time of admission, that is, you don't have to submit SAT scores. There's no kind of additional level that having an SAT or an ACT score would unlock. So I'll get to scholarships in a little bit and show you what the different opportunities are. Could an SAT or ACT score help you with different scholarships that aren't Montclair State related? Yes. You can find information about third-party scholarships through our financial aid website and the portal that students will have access to. There might also be, though I doubt it, there might also be some foundation scholarships that students would apply to later in their career that might look at a test score. But by and large, and certainly for 98% of any scholarship at Montclair State University and anything that they would receive at the time of admission, you don't need SAT scores. So great question. Thank you for that. All right, moving on from this slide. So I talked a lot about this stuff already, but basically what do you need to be accepted as a Red Hawk? We do a holistic review process. We look at everything that students send. So I talked about what you don't have to send this year in terms of, an essay or a letter of recommendation, but anything that you do send to us, we will take into consideration in the review process. The average GPA is a 3.27, as I said earlier. So the strongest candidates for admission are going to be in that range. And we are always interested to hear about students' participation in extracurriculars and community service or part-time work that they've done. It helps us to paint the full picture of the student. We do have some programs, if your student is a transfer student, that have hard and fast GPA requirements, and those are listed below. And all of those require at least a 3.0 GPA from the transfer institution in order to be considered for admission. Application deadlines, we do rolling admission. So as soon as your application is complete, you will be reviewed and receive a decision. Usually it takes about 2 weeks from the time that your application is complete, but to the point where the student receives notification. That notification happens online first, so they can log in, and it's pretty close to immediate. It's the next day from the time that we make the decision that they get the email to let them know to go check it out. We do a priority admission, which is non-binding. It's just an incentive for students to complete their application and submit all the supporting documents by December 1st. If students have that in and their application is marked complete by December 1st, they will hear by December 23rd at the latest. For students interested in nursing, there is a hard and fast deadline of January 15th. They must have their application completed by then in order to receive a decision. If they come after that, it's on a space available basis because it's a very limited program at the university in terms of the number. The State Board of Nursing has limited our program to a cohort of 50 students at this point. And for scholarship consideration, you do not have to submit any additional information. You're considered right along with your application, but you do have to have your application in by January 15th for full consideration. And I see, how does it work for transfer students from overseas for a nursing program? So if you are a transfer student, great question. At Montclair State University, the nursing program is relatively new. It is still under review by the State Board of Nursing. You have to be active for a certain number of years and you have to have graduated as a certain number of classes before they kind of release any restrictions on you. So the restrictions that we have right now, and I was talking about that cohort of 50, they've limited us to first-time freshman starts only. So if you are coming to us in any sort of transfer capacity, it would be through our RN to BSN program. You already have to have your RN to the RN to BSN program. And we do get a number of students who come through that program each year. Probably another 50 to 75 students a year come through the RN to BSN program. So those are folks who've gone through either a diploma program or they've gone through an associate's degree program to receive their RN licensure. And then at that point, they come to Montclair State University and they complete the requirements for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing, but we are not granting their nursing license because they already have it. And we do have students who have an international education background who have come through. They have to go through the process, not through Montclair State, but through the state of New Jersey to get their license activated. And sometimes that can be done through equivalency. Sometimes they need to do additional coursework at a community college most of the time, but that's how that would work. Okay. And then for transfer admission, the deadlines are listed there. It's a very similar process. So again, rolling admission, 2 to 4 weeks after the application is completed. That 4-week number is really, when we're at our highest peak, that it would ever take 4 weeks to get your decision. Other important deadlines to think about are the free application for federal student aid. We want students to complete that as early as possible, certainly no later than February 1st, because 71% of students at Montclair State University receive some form of financial aid, whether that's a merit scholarship, whether that's need-based grants, or subsidized or unsubsidized loans, parent loans, things of that nature. But the only way to find out if you're eligible for a lot of those, with the exception of the merit scholarships, is to complete the FAFSA. So the FAFSA is available now. You can submit it now. It becomes available in October for submission each year. And I recommend personally that you do it as soon as possible because we want to be able to notify you as soon as possible. We haven't yet started sending out financial aid packages, but they're going to start going out in the next, I would say, 2 weeks or so. Okay. Now we get into the fun slides. How much does it cost to attend? Well, if you are an alum like me, I can tell you more than when you went here. Montclair State University, though, makes a very conscious and deliberate effort to make sure that among all of the state institutions, Montclair's tuition is in the bottom third of all our sister institutions in the state of New Jersey. So for in-state tuition for the year, if you're a full-time student, so you're taking 12 credits, between 12 and 18 credits a semester, the tuition and fees is a little over $13,000 a year. Out-of-state students, tuition and fees is a little over $21,000, and regardless of whether you're in-state or out-of-state, the average room and board, and rates do vary depending on where students choose to live, is a little over $16,000 per year. So I promised I would talk about scholarships. We offer 2 distinct scholarships at Montclair State University that are merit-based and that are offered at the time of admission. One is the Presidential Scholars Program. This is open to New Jersey residents. And if you are a New Jersey, your student is a New Jersey resident and they have a 3.5 GPA or higher on an unweighted scale and a demonstrated record of academic rigor, then they may be eligible for the Presidential Scholars Program. The Presidential Scholars Program is a program that it's got a lot of enrichment opportunities for students. So in addition to getting a $5,000 a year scholarship, they also participate in learning communities. They participate in programming with, upper level administrators like the president and the provost, the dean of their college, to really unlock for them all of the rich array of resources that exist at Montclair State University, like student-faculty research partnerships, for example. But we tried to make this program as straightforward as possible, since it's our premier scholarship program, 3.5 GPA and demonstrated rigor. And what does rigor mean? It means going above and beyond the college prep curriculum to a fairly significant degree. So did they take additional years of math beyond what they needed to? Did they take additional years of science or world language beyond what was required of them? Were they challenging themselves in honors courses and AP courses? All of those things are considered when we're evaluating rigor. My sound just got really low, sorry. Hopefully this is better. Let me know if you can't hear me again. The National Student Scholarships, the other scholarship that we offer at the time of admission, this is for out-of-state students, and this is where we are offering the equivalent of in-state tuition for out-of-state students. So those students, if they have a 3.0 or higher on a 4.0 scale, they may be eligible for the National Student Scholarship. So since we are still in the middle of a pandemic, we have found a host of other ways to help our students discover Montclair State University, to navigate the college prep process and the application process. We have a virtual open house coming up on November 8th. We just did a virtual open house last week that went very well. We also host a ton of different special topic information sessions like financial aid and residence and commuter life, but also topics like that aren't even necessarily Montclair State related, because we know students aren't always getting this information from their school counselor this year. So we have programs like choosing between in-state and out-of-state schools. Should I go to public or private? How do I choose a major? And all of those, in addition to our virtual campus experience, which is like an online campus tour, are available to students through our website, and they can sign up at montclair.edu/admissions/visit. We have also started in-person tours. They are very limited in terms of how many folks can attend on a tour at one time. And of course, masks and social distancing is required. So we do have that option if you would like to come for a formal guided tour, but we also offer a self-guided tour. So if you just want to download our map or pick one up on campus, and you can walk around and absolutely take a look at everything that is available. So I see a note here that all in-person tours are filled at this time. Do we anticipate additional tours being scheduled? And when will they restart after the winter break? Great questions. Yes, we are adding tour times every week. So we offer them Monday through Friday, 3 times a day, 2 different sessions. So we have a maximum of 60 people on campus per day. They are filled now, I think, through October, because again, it is we are limited in the number that we can offer in order to maintain social distancing. But I do think that in the next week, we will be posting the November dates, and when will they restart after the break? Usually they restart at the very end of January. So right when Easter starts, which is right after Martin Luther King Day. You have an 8th grader interested in music therapy. Do we offer programs where students can get an experience in majors they are interested in during high school? Excellent question. We do have programs like that. We usually start with our upperclassmen in high school for formal programs. That's through the early college program. The early college program allows students to come and to take courses for credit. So that's a great option if students want to earn credit. But if they just want to explore, if they just want to sit in on a course, we can facilitate that through undergraduate admissions. And I will pop the person's name in the chat before we depart so that we can hook you up with our specialized engagement programs coordinator. She's the one who can help facilitate that for you. So great question. Let me put her name in the chat before I forget. Her name is Merritt, and she is the coordinator for specialized engagement programs. There you go. Great question. Thank you for that. All right. Do we have any other questions? At this point, I am here for you. I hope that this is helpful and informative. You know, I know right now it's a crazy time to think about navigating the college search process. And really, what I hope that you can take away from this is that if you're helping a student navigate this process, what's most important is evaluating an institution against your own values. Are they meeting the moment, this difficult moment of the pandemic, in a way that makes you and your student feel safe and comfortable, and that they are still offering an incredible array of programming and academic offerings, and doing it in a way that feels like it is going to set your student up for success. That's my advice, unsolicited.
Thanks so much, Jeff. We really appreciate you taking the time and doing this. For all those at home, your connection to Montclair State University doesn't end the day you graduate. It lasts a lifetime. We ask that you stay connected to your alma mater and help us to continue to build a tradition of success for the next generation of Montclair State University graduates through a strong and active alumni network. If you have any questions about this program or your alumni benefits, please feel free to contact the Office of Alumni Engagement at Montclair State at 973-655-4141 or alumni@montclair.edu. Thanks for joining us for Homecoming 2020, and go Red Hawks.